And we are back. Hey, man, we did not get cut and picked up by some other network. We are still here at the same time slot, and we're going to be on the big man roster, Bryan Broaddus. We are not going to be a practice squad podcast today, man. That feels fantastic, sir. Appreciate all y'all for tuning in to us. Please, Bryan.
Yeah, no, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's nice that we didn't have to clear waivers.
Yeah.
We didn't, somebody felt good enough about us to keep us on the 53.
Yeah.
Who knows? We might be inactive, though. We might be inactive.
We might not play on game day, but we on the team.
We might have sweats on.
We getting them checks, though.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's good to be with you again, Voch, as always. Thanks to everybody out there for making time for us as well. Okay, here it comes. Get ready, folks. This is my mom's favorite part, what he's about to do.
When I go, Bryan, for real, that's something.
Yeah. Oh, my mom loves that. My mom is like, oh, he's so talented. He's so cute. And I'm like, yeah, she's like, says all these things. She goes, I love it when he opens the show.
Oh, man. Shouts out to Mama Broaddus. That's incredible.
Thank you, man.
Man, Bryan Broaddus, I had a question, man. I was scrolling through my Twitter, man, and I got elders and big media.
You work with one. You work with an elder.
I work with one of my elders, man. You're one of my consiglieres. You know what I mean? I tap in with you when I need help. Yeah. Man, Bryan Broaddus gave me some advice, man. If I was a good content creator, I would have the damn clip ready, but I just don't. Man, Bryan says, man, one of my front office people said, Bryan, our guys always make it back.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, every year we have some people that we cut and we get scared, Bryan. We get terrified that they not going to come back. And they said, Bryan, don't worry about it. They always come back. Bryan, man, I was pondering because I think team building gets better over time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Team building develops just like we develop. If one team gets smart, you start to emulate the good team and we start doing stuff like them. You know what I mean? That's why we don't pay top dollar for running backs as much as we once did, right?
Right.
Bryan, do you think that teams watch the draft and they go, man, the Cowboys are really good at drafting and picking these undrafted dudes, right? To where maybe back in the day, we can drop a guy that we like a bunch and they'll always get back because they fall in love with their guys.
Right.
Is it possible that these front offices are going, hey, man, look, certain teams just draft well. The Steelers, the Vikings, the Ravens, the daggum Dallas Cowboys draft well. They select well.
Yeah.
I'm going to look on their squad to see who they letting go.
Yeah.
Man, who is this Julian Wood kid? Let me go watch some of his film from the game. He got a pick six?
Yeah.
Is he better than who we got? Bryan, do you think these other teams, they ain't got to be great teams, but do you think these other teams look at what we do and go, I'm going to hyper analyze their practice squad because I know the Cowboys are good at this?
How about this one? This was the one today that I had a laugh about. The two-time defending Super Bowl champs took two players off your roster.
Peyton Hendershot and Eric Scott, man.
Yeah. These guys, Andy Reid, my old neighbor in Green Bay, who I love dearly. Andy and I can't wait till Andy goes to the Hall of Fame because when he goes, I'm going to go up to Canton, Ohio, and he and I are going to share a bowl of red beans and rice.
Wow.
But Andy, the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs took two players off your roster, traded for one, gave you a pick for one of your players.
Are we wrong about Hendershot and Eric Scott? Because the best team in the land.
That's where if I was sitting in my office at the Star, I'd be looking at those tags going, oh my gosh, who do we have on our roster? The Kansas City, the kid Ward,
Travarius Ward, and Michael Jackson are doing just fine without us, Bryan. I know.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's the thing that makes me And then all of a sudden, Cincinnati jumps in, and I know it's a practice squad thing,
man.
And they get Justin Rogers to, and Justin Rogers. I know you and I've had this conversation before. Mozzie played better,
sure,
but there's times where Justin Rogers has looked better.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you're gonna go, hey Brian, we got old man Linville Joseph, 35 years old, and bad knees.
That won't be back next year.
And I just wonder. I think that if you're a scout for the Cowboys, you have to take a little. You have to smile and say, "Damn, these players aren't good enough for us." But the two-time defending Super Bowl champs, good enough for them. So that part of it is you never want to see guys get claimed. No. You really don't. But you understand. I mean, I talked to two teams this morning about Julius Wood. Two guys are like, "Hey, man, I know you were at camp. What would you think?" I mean, and I was just talking about him, and what I saw, and I'm like, they were kind of confirming what they saw on film, and I'm like, he seems like a good kid, and and I was just being positive about the kid, and I personally, I know you and I are doing this, and we thought,
yeah,
dang, he's got a shot to make this roster,
sure,
and then he ends up in Tennessee, but there were teams like Carolina, and this is where I appreciate team building.
Yeah.
They got a new general manager in Carolina, and Dan Morgan.
Yeah.
Working there. Dan Morgan claimed 6 guys today.
I like that.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dan Morgan is thinking,
go get him.
You're like, damn it, I don't want to have the first. He didn't have the first overall pick. He earned it for how bad they were, but he had to give it to Chicago, right?
Yeah.
But Dan Morgan looked at his team and said, this is the second draft. You're going to let me draft, and now you're going to let me add 6 more players from some other teams?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Sure.
And then Elliott Wolf, who I worked for his father in Green Bay, Ron Wolf. Elliott Wolf used to babysit him. Yeah. Now he's a GM, at the New England Patriots. Elliott Wolf, what'd he do? He claimed 4 guys. Elliott Wolf's roster ain't any good. You know why? Because Bill Belichick, pulled a Tom Landry in the last 3 years of his tenure. They didn't draft very well. It's amazing how similar Belichick and Tom Landry's careers were at the end. Very similar. Didn't draft well. Didn't all of a sudden you get a talent poor team and you're gone. But I applaud teams that do that. I really applaud the team that will just claim guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, say, Kansas City, Dallas today. And the one thing Dallas did that I think we can appreciate is they tried to help their defense.
Sure.
But it wasn't, through claims. It was, let's see if we can add during training camp. They kept adding guys, they kept trying. That part I want to give them credit for.
Sure.
But I love what Carolina and New England and those teams that know they're not very good.
Yeah.
But they said, you know what, if you're going to make mistakes, if you're going to put somebody out. Now, I wish in my heart, my selfish heart of, the Cowboys, I wish they'd put a claim in for Frank Gore Jr.
Yeah.
But then we'd have had the discussion on our show of, well, damn, Brian, they got rid of Deuce Vaughn.
Yep.
Because we knew, and you talked about this. You talked about this. When you add somebody, they're going to get rid of the wrong guy.
Yep.
They're not going to get rid of the guy they should have get rid of.
Sure.
But they're going to get rid of somebody that no, don't get rid of that guy.
Yeah.
Get rid of this guy. And it was never going to be that way. So in a way, for Deuce Vaughn, I'm happy. Because if they go out and claim Frank Gore, they would have probably got rid of Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
And then that would have been that would have been the end of him. I think Deuce Vaughn, we talked about it last night, you and I. Him and Flournoy came so far in such a short period of time to make this football team. Yeah. So I'd hate, that's what you worry about. You claim somebody and you're like, no, you got rid of the wrong guy. Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't have to go through that with the Cowboys.
And really, that's, kind of sort of politics, man, because it's not we cut the wrong guy because we just made a mistake. You cut the wrong guy because you just will not cut Ezekiel Elliott. That's the bad part about it. You know what I mean? That's the like, it's not like we're disagreeing about Josh Ball and Walesko. They were like close. If some people thought Josh was good, some people thought Walesko was better, and you just kind of whatever. I think Deuce Vaughn and Rico Dowdle are your two best running backs on this team so far. Right. And that's including Cooks. That's including Malik Davis now. That's including Ezekiel. That's just how I feel. But we ain't got to go there, man. But yeah, we got Bryan Broaddus, these Super Bowl champs. They are a fan of our work, and just like you said, man, the Chiefs got an extra. Eric Scott was a 6th-round pick, so they got an extra 6th-round dude playing corner on their team, man. Julius Wood was undrafted. Justin Rogers, another 7th-round guy. They just get to add 6th round. They just get to add to their team, man. Yeah. Shouts out to him, please.
It's been very rare that Dallas cuts draft picks. Yeah, very rare. And they with no sponsorship for Voch, no sponsorship here for Scott. Yeah, it seemed pretty simple. We were all kind of connecting the dots that maybe the Commanders were involved here. Sure. But it didn't work out that way. But yeah, it just as a personnel guy at the Star, and the fact that Kansas City did that, you're just kind of it's very eye-opening. Yep. That one of the better teams, if not one of the best teams in the National Football, when it comes to play, and here's a team that will, and a lot has to do because of the head coach and the quarterback and the defensive coordinator. Yeah, but they don't care. Their roster could be. Kansas City should have been dead in the water last year. Sure, with how they built their team. Yeah, they're like, we don't have time for these wide receivers. We're gonna keep throwing names. Sure, these guys show up in the Super Bowl. Head coach, defensive coordinator, quarterback. It makes sense. They've got some really talented guys. But the fact that two of your players that you didn't feel were good enough now we're on their 53-man roster, it makes you wonder, like, did we miss something? And maybe we didn't. Maybe Kansas City is just that beat up at tight end and that beat up in the cornerback spot. If Minnesota would have claimed Eric Scott, sure, I would have understood it. Yeah. Because Minnesota, when I was talking to them about Booth, they were like, man, we're not very good at corner right now. Yeah. And they go out and get Gilmore and, all that stuff. Yeah. But I said it a bunch that you always feel like your guys are coming back. And this was the time that a couple of them didn't make it back, And watch Hendershot not drop a pass when he gets there. Or just watch he catch just his a perfect catch percentage from now on. But yeah, and Eric Scott all of a sudden gets in the game and they're playing Buffalo or somebody like that, or
locking
Cincinnati.
Yeah,
and he knocks the ball away or something. But you know what? Let me tell you what. I'll take Carson. I don't know. Is McQuamu? I think McQuamu played well. I don't have a problem. I thought it was funny that Kansas City did that with that.
So Brian, how about this, right? Segway Jones. Thank you, sir. Man, Bryan Broaddus, let me ask you something, man, because I thought about something. You just mentioned it, but I've been thinking this all day. Did this come down to Eric Scott versus Israel? And let me just ask you this. Team building. Yeah. Let's just say me and your last name Jones. Me and you brothers. We just, you know what I'm saying? We just Brother Jones.
Steven and Jerry Jr.
Brother Jones is what we are. Bryan Broaddus, man, we in charge.
Yeah.
How do you balance when you're creating your roster?
Yeah.
and you're cutting guys, right? And you shooting dice and you hoping that you get lucky and they get back to you. Mm-hmm. How do you balance win now mode and the veterans that can help you versus the young guys that you would love to see develop? I'm sure Justin Rogers versus Linval Joseph was a real conversation. One's a veteran that helps you right now. One's a guy you would love to see good in 3 years or so. Eric Scott, in which he was in that first wave of cuts, was like, man, they kind of being impatient with this kid that just got drafted last year. How do you evaluate him with more years to kind of grow and develop versus Israel, who's on the last year of his contract, who's an older player now, can maybe help you a little more, Bryan? How do you balance the win now dudes versus the I would love to see you guys later? Because you know who they didn't cut? They didn't cut Flournoy. They just going to say, man, look, we don't need 6 receivers, but we about to carry him. If Flournoy just got to be inactive, we'll carry him because that dude's going to develop into something. How do you balance that, Bryan?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Damn right, it's a great question. Yeah, right.
That's why we're doing this podcast, because there are a lot of great questions from your end of it.
Damn right.
The balance is difficult under these circumstances. You have so many guys in the coaching staff on 1-year contracts. And if Mike McCarthy had, say he had an extension, or that, you know, if he was in year 2 or 3 of a 5-year plan, then the focus is a little bit more big picture. Now Mike Zimmer is looking at it and saying, we've got Linval Joseph, we've got Phillips, you know, we've got guys now. He goes, I need these guys now. I don't, to use a line from our good buddy Todd Archer, I don't need young man strength. I need old man strength.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done. Then Mike Zimmer is thinking, if I'm going to play good defense this year, I need old man strength in the middle, because I got linebackers. I got my linebacker with Kendricks. I've got my safeties where I need to be. He's looking at it as, right now, this is how I can win games.
Sure.
2 years from now, if you still had Rodgers, and you still had Eric Scott, you still had guys like that, you know, like if you're a team that's struggling a little bit, you know, you could think big picture, because you're like, I'm going to just take these young guys and play them and see what happens, you know. But Dallas is in that mode of, there's almost some desperation.
Sure.
I shouldn't say almost. There's desperation. Your quarterback, who's a top, you know, what do you say, top 6, top 7 quarterback in the league?
Top 3, yeah.
Top 3, okay. Top 3 quarterback in the league. Might not be here.
Yeah.
Head coach might not be here. Defensive coordinator might not be here. You know, if you're the general manager of this team, you could have said, no, we're keeping this guy. We're keeping this guy. We're keeping this guy. But those guys aren't going anywhere. So the pressure's not on them. You got to, in a way, give your coaches a chance. You got to give them a fighting chance. And Zimmer has proven, with how the defense has looked, you have to give him a fighting chance. You have to give Mike McCarthy a fighting chance. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you know that you can draft. And there's some people out there that I'm saying, I could hear people saying this right now, and they'll go, Broaddus, these Justin Rogers are a dime a dozen. Mm-hmm. Eric Scott's a dime a dozen. You know, Julius Wood, dime a dozen. Mm-hmm. You know, these are dime a dozen players. I don't know,
man, Bryan.
I know. I mean, it's tough, because you don't. If you want to think big picture and you're the general manager, you tell, we're keeping all these guys. Yeah. We're keeping all these guys. And we're not going to have, I was surprised they did what they did with Carl Lawson. You know, they were thinking like, okay, let's bring Carl Lawson in here and see what we have. What did they do? They're like, listen, you need to be on the practice squad, bro. You ain't ready to play. You know,
do you think, sorry for cutting you, but do you think, because something that was in my mind, right? You know, the scouts really not going to, like, they're not on a 1-year contract.
Right.
Scouts are going to be here.
Right.
The coaches are not, possibly.
Right.
So the coaches are maybe the ones saying, I can use this Israel dude, but the scouts are saying, man, but this Keemon Hall kid is going to be good for you, right? Brian, watch this. Voch says this, right? Do you think that's because this is a coaching staff that doesn't scout as much as the last guys did? See, Jason Garrett was real involved in his scouting and all that kind of stuff, right? Mike McCarthy and Zimmer are more so, hey, just give me whoever you give me and I'll just coach them, right? You think if Mike McCarthy and Zimmer were more into the scouting process and into the drafting process, that maybe they'll have more of a connection with some of these young guys. But as of now, they just trying to say their job, and I don't know who you are anyway, Keemon Hall. Cut him. I need this kid that's been playing for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's. I think you're dead balls right about that. I mean, to me, it's a difficult balance that Will McClay has to deal with. Yeah. You know, he wants his roster to be the best roster it can, but he also has a responsibility to the coaches that when they walk out of here, that he put together the best team he could. Sure. Mike Zimmer and Mike McCarthy don't have time for development. Yeah. If they had time for development, they would make Trey Lance the second quarterback. Sure. You know, if you had time for big picture development, and somebody, if Mike McCarthy is no longer here, somebody might inherit a pretty interesting roster at certain spots, but it might not have the depth if you would have kept some of these guys, some of these guys that, like I said, if you'd have kept Rodgers or you would have kept Scott, that kind of thing. Maybe you won't have the depth. But the thing with Mukuamu is interesting is I think the fact that he can actually, and here, get ready for the bleeper button here, but the serious position flexibility of, exactly. Position flexibility. Yeah. All that position flexibility. Yeah. See, that's the one thing with Mukuamu, and Mukuamu hasn't played poorly. Sure, he really hasn't. But I think Mike Zimmer could trust him if something were to go wrong in a game more than he could in Eric Scott. Yeah, or he trusts Bell and Thomas more than he trusts Wood. Sure. Whereas if you had coaches that weren't fighting for their job, you might try and trade Wilson, trade Wilson, and play with Bell and Thomas, and then Wood. You might consider that, but they're in a particularly. This could be, and they hate the word because we asked Will McClay this on 105.3 The Fan. We interviewed him. We asked him. Gavin Dawson went, well, the rebuild this, and Will McClay was adamant. Yeah. We don't rebuild. We're not rebuilding. Sure. He was adamant about that. Yeah. So they know they can draft. They know they can draft. And that's what they're going to kind of hang their hats on right now. Yeah. How often do you think coaches get involved in these fights, right? Like Al Harris Al and his DB guys are going, hey man, Julian Wood got to make this team, but over there, somebody over there vouching for Tyrus Wheat, and Al Harris goes, you crazy? Tyrus Wheat over, you know what I mean? Like how often does that happen? And on top of that, and what does your ranking as a coach get involved in that? Like if Al Harris is the assistant head coach, right? And the third offensive line coach talking about we need to keep Josh Ball or something. Yeah. Do they go, man, shut up, I'm Al Harris. We keeping the safety up in here. Does that happen? Yeah, I've been in the meetings with Jerry, and it always seems like the position coach has a say. I was with Joe Alvazano and the special team stuff. What his name is? Joe Alvazano. Okay, I got you. Joe, he was a Super Bowl winning special teams coach, no longer with us. And Joe, I remember Jerry so many times looking at Joe and saying, Joe, what do you think? We're talking about offensive linemen. Joe, what do you think? And I would sit there and go, oh my God. We one time we had a meeting and our team was 5-11, coming off of 5-11. And we had a meeting when it was done. You would have sworn our team was 11-5 by the way the coaches were talking about the team. And I'm like going, we have got no shot here.
Yeah.
We have got no shot.
Wasn't good. But
see, this is where I think that Jerry is good about listening.
Sure. But
this is where you need the strong head coach. And if you look at Mike McCarthy's record, he was in a system in Green Bay where he didn't have as much say as he does today.
Sure.
You know, and that's where you need the strong coach to be able to stand up and say, no, we're doing this. No, we're taking this guy. We're taking this guy, or we're going to keep this guy. And I'm sure Mike had his say in all that. But it doesn't get down to the guy who's on the staff that's getting coffee for everybody. He doesn't have a say as much as you would think in these things.
Dalvin Cook is here.
Yeah.
He's a practice squad guy, to be fair.
Okay, yeah, this is now I see where you're going here, but go ahead.
Please, if you see where I'm going.
I get accused of interrupting you, so go ahead.
No, F them people.
Go ahead.
Brian,
no.
them people. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm interested with this question. I have a feeling I know where you're going to go, but go ahead. Tell me what you got.
We haven't done a good job of limiting redundancies, Bryan Broaddus. We haven't done a fantastic job of that.
There you go. Yeah.
Dalvin Cook and Zeke the same dude to me.
Pretty much.
Zeke gonna catch the ball. Dalvin gonna catch it. Zeke ain't got a whole bunch of explosive movements. Dalvin doesn't either.
True.
They in their mind they still think they can do that little thing that they used to do, but their body don't really catch up to it.
A lot of grunting and groaning as they're doing it. Yeah.
And they both will put their head down and get to 2 or 3 yards.
I think that Cook will fumble more. Zeke will pass block better. How does that sound?
Both of those things highlighting a running back sounds terrible to me.
It does.
Hey, man,
really
look, he'll fumble more. Hey, he'll pass block. That sounds terrible to me. I thought when we were evaluating running backs, I thought we talked about running. The root word in running backs is running. Yeah. You know what I mean? And yeah, he's a practice squad guy. And I should. Hey, Cook's a practice squad guy. Let's not overreact here. Yeah. But these practice squad spots are valuable, Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah, they are. There's 16 of them now. There used to only be 8 when I was in the league. They've helped you. COVID allowed you to have a few more of those spots, and I'm glad the league kept that open. And the ability to move up and down with those guys, I think, helps too. They've got it going the right way. I will say this: when I saw Tom Pelissero this morning, when I saw that tweet, and it was Cowboys to sign Dalvin Cook. Yeah. And I went and I immediately thought, damn, who are they going to get rid of? And the first person I thought of was Deuce Vaughn.
I was hurt.
I was thinking like, man, poor Deuce Vaughn, who fought his ass off, who is a shorter guy, but gives you everything he has. I'm not trying to, shield for the guy or anything like that, but I'm just saying he and Flournoy busted their ass to make this team. And so I was kind of thinking about Deuce Vaughn there. And then I said, man, this can't be a 53-man signing. And then Pelissero came back. Oh, this is only a practice squad. And I'm like, okay, now you're feeling better about it. Yeah. You're feeling better because you're saying he's not taking a roster spot. They've got 3 elevations. After the 3rd elevations, if they want to put him on the 53-man roster, they've got to make a roster move. He is not going to hurt you being on the practice squad. They'll let him practice. Now, what they could do is they could have a plan. For 3 weeks, we're going to run Zeke into the ground. For 3 weeks, we're going to run Cook in the ground. Yep. Week 7, now we're ready to just hand the ball to Rico Dowdle. You know what I'm saying?
Because Rico is like hurt guy, so let's save him.
So like week 8, halfway through the season, they're going to figure out. Now, the thing that worries me, Voch, about this.
That's a great plan, by the way.
Yeah, just run Zeke into the ground for 3 weeks, then run Dalvin Cook into the ground for 3 weeks.
Sure.
And then now maybe your line has kind of figured out some blocking stuff.
Rico fresh.
The tight end's gotten a little better. Rico's fresh. Here we go. We're going to the second half of the season, you're playing all these teams and you're playing all these AFC North teams.
Yeah.
Ravens, Steelers, Browns, just
beating you down. Yeah.
Just take these old dudes and just hammer them in there and let it work. And if all of a sudden, and now the schedule kind of like, okay, we can breathe now. Okay, we've played 6 games. We're 3-3.
I love that, bro. I'll tell you why. Because I used to be like this with Tyron Smith, right? Yeah. I was like, hey man, we're playing the Giants today. We don't need Tyron Smith today, dude. I was thinking let's only play Tyron Smith in good games or versus really good edge dudes, and that'll be the way to keep him him preserved. But running backs are a little different, of course.
See, I say all that with tongue in cheek, but it could be a plan that they have. But to me, I would hate. And I asked my guys on the radio today. I asked them this question: how many games, Voch, are you going to have to play before they realize that Rico Dowdle is the best back?
Is Zeke healthy?
Yeah. All things are healthy. Zeke hasn't had the knee flaring up and all that stuff that's probably going to happen.
Man.
But how many games are they going to play? And they did this with Pollard. Remember that?
Yep.
We're watching the games and we're like, man, and the metrics will tell you Pollard was averaging like 4.8 yards a carry and Zeke was averaging 3.8 yards a carry.
Yeah.
It was like a yard difference in carries. And you just felt like there was more explosiveness, there was more quickness, there was more. But how many games?
Brian,
how many games are we going to go through before they realize that, geez, we need to play Rico Dowdle full time?
First of all, I think they already know that Rico's the better running back.
So then all of a sudden it's going to turn into handing the ball to Zeke on short yardage. Is that what's going to happen?
And look, let me just say this for everybody watching right now. I would love it if Zeke is a really good running back.
I would too.
I would love it. This is just my preseason
I think the
opinion.
line's going to block better.
Sure,
I think this line is going to block better.
I agree. Yeah. But if the line blocks better, then Rico's going to be phenomenal. If that's how I feel. If the line blocks better and Rico's healthy, I think Rico's going to be really, really good. He has the potential to be really, really good. I think they know Zeke is an old man, and I think they know Rico is better. I just think they know this. What running back goes out there first doesn't matter. The running back that gets the ball the most matters more to me. Okay, so if they politic their way into this, man, it'll really make me sick. I just don't want to relive those days. And Cowboy fans were there where we'll get a ball to Zeke on an obvious 1st and 10, 2nd and 9. Dak, save us, please. It's 2nd and 3rd and long. Save us. Yeah. I don't want to relive that again. So, hey, man, if we do it again, you're going to learn fast because we play a really good defense in the Browns and a really good defense in the Ravens.
Yeah.
This whole Zeke thing, if it's a facade and we're politicking our way into this, that'll teach you a lesson really quickly. If they really feel like, Brian, because this could be the case too, because coaches trash at this too. If they really feel that Zeke and Rico are close, and it's a real competition, I think the first 4 games will tell you everything that you need to know. Those are some defenses that'll really play you. And the Saints, I think you'll beat the hell out of them, but they'll at least test you on defense at least. I think it takes 4 games. If it's really a competition, it takes 4 games.
Yeah, and I wonder. I agree with you. I say this in thinking I think the line is going to be better. Run blocking, because I the way that Dallas runs the ball and the way it's not a perimeter running game, it's an inside kind of a running game, and the push and the cutbacks and things like that you're going to get because I think Martin, BB, Smith, I think those guys are going to be pretty good getting push.
Sure.
And they'll give them an opportunity to make cuts and get positive plays. What I don't want to see happen is all of a sudden you waste good run blocking games because, and I said this on the radio today, and I really do believe it. The longer those cats have to hold those blocks to get Zeke, and say if it turns into Cook, I mean, if those guys are running the ball and it takes longer to get them to and through the hole, the longer they have to do that, the more likely you're going to get holding calls.
Yeah.
The longer you have to hold your block, the more likely you're going to get a holding call. If you got somebody that gets to the hole, through the hole, and is in the secondary, those plays happen fast. Officials don't have time to adjust.
Sure. But
you make that play slow and slow that play down, these officials will throw flags all day. And, and that's what I worry about.
Sure.
That all of a sudden if you're getting into a good rhythm, and like say if it was Vaughn or Dowdle and they're humming along and it's 4.5 yards a shot, 4.6 a carry, that kind of, they're just kind of, popping an 8-yard run, 10-yard run. Okay. There's a tough 4-yard run. But I guarantee you, if you ask those offensive linemen, they would take quickness over power any day. Because the longer they hold their blocks, the more problems they have. And the officials will see it and they'll throw flags. And all of a sudden it's, like I said, it's, holding 73 offense, still second down. I hope they figure it out. Because I felt like, and I got in trouble asking Jerry Jones this question one time. He got mad at me. And this is when I was in media. I said, do you feel like you've wasted Tony Pollard's career? And Jerry's like, I don't think we wasted his career at all. But they were late to play him. They were late to play him, right?
Yeah.
They were late.
Yeah.
They were late to play him. And I hope they don't waste a good offensive line blocking group, because this could be the last year for Zach Martin.
Sure.
This could very well be the final time that we see the Hall of Famer out there blocking. Yeah. So I hope they see it, that like, we've got to be quicker. We've got to get to the hole quicker. We got to finish this better. And I hope they go the right route that way. That's my hope.
It shouldn't have to be this stressful, Brian. We shouldn't have to talk about football in this tone. You hear how serious and stoic we sound? We should be having fun. Like, boy, we know Deuce about to go crazy this year. Man, Deuce might get a couple of carries, man. Brian, Voch says this. How long will it take for them to realize that Deuce is better than Zeke? Like, how long will it be?
That's what Bobby and I were doing Love of the Star, and Bobby went over and under. He went over and under 5.5 touches for Deuce. And I'm like, okay, are you including kickoff return touches? Are we doing that? And he goes, no, just offensive touches. Over and under. I'll give you, how about over and under? I'll go over and under 5. Where are you going?
Under.
Yeah.
Keeping it real with you. Under.
I know. I feel the same way.
It's under.
I feel the same way.
I think they have, I don't want to say pigeonholed or whatever, but they kind of have him just pinned as a third running back right now. And I'm just being honest. I don't know how much Zeke and Rico really going to get at it. They always say they want to run the football, and they can make they can make the O-line changes all they want. Man, they're going to throw the ball a ton. I don't ever see Dak Prescott being a Tony Romo quarterback where he gets like 25 attempts. Like maybe later on in his life, but right now that in this offense where the coach prioritizes outside receivers throwing the football, timing and all that, Dak's going to throw the ball 35 to 40 times. And Deuce can catch some passes, but I think they're going to prioritize the hell out of Rico, and they're going to prioritize Ezekiel Elliott. If everybody's healthy, I don't think Deuce is going to get a ton of attention. I think he's going to do some return things, sure, but week 15 maybe a whole nother conversation.
True or false? True or false? Look down at your Scantron. That Scantron you used to use in high school. True being A, false being B. Okay. True or false? This Cowboys offensive staff is good enough to create running game mismatches. True or false?
False. Wait.
It's false.
You didn't even have to think about that one, did you?
Nah. You know,
there's not going to be anything where you and I are going to be watching tape Monday morning and you're going to go, damn, that looked like something Sean McVay would do. Damn, that looks like something Ben Johnson would do in Detroit. No chance?
No faith.
And
it would be fun to use a guy like Turpin, Deuce, or Rico creatively, but I think they're gonna pound dudes into A and B gap. Pause.
Yeah, So man, that was quick. You didn't even think about it.
I even marked F. I even marked F on my Scantron.
You did. You marked that. You filled that little dot in.
I marked F on my. Zoom this shit in. I marked F on.
You got it. You marked it. You marked it in.
I marked F on my Scantron.
Yeah.
Is there another one? You got another one for me? I got some more paper.
Are you about to give me the bell pattern or something? You always like
draw a little house.
Draw.
Wow, I haven't marked True in a while. Let me mark True real quick. Yeah, look. Hey, Natchez. That's that Natchez. Hold on, wait.
Hey, Louisiana.
That's that Natchez right there. You see that?
Tigers, yeah.
You see that end right there? That's that Natchez, baby.
Natchez. I thought that was Navy.
Hell no. Ain't no Navy, man. That's Natchez High Bulldogs, man. That's Natchez High Bulldog right there.
I got you.
Playoffs.
So, okay. If there's something, give me, all right, offense or defense. Give me something that you think that you will see that you didn't see last year, offensively or defensively.
I do believe Mike is going to be a lot more fluid in where he lines up. I think he's going to be all over the place. You know, that was something that Dan Quinn always like promised us, but we never even seen it at practice. Like Dan be like, yeah, we're going to move Micah, but we never saw it at practice. Michael was always the right edge dude at practice. And just in these handful of practices with Zim, Mike's been the right guy, the left guy. Mike has been the A-gap dude standing. He's been the linebacker blitzing. Those two things are different. We've seen Michael line up on the left side and run over to the right last minute. I really think there's not going to be a time to where we're watching the Giants and they got Andrew Thomas and 4 trash offensive. I don't want to say trash. It's just 4 offensive linemen that ain't Andrew Thomas.
Right.
And I'm going to be screaming at the TV going, hey, why don't you put Michael versus that dude that can't play?
Yeah, the dude that has slow feet.
As opposed to just lining him up versus Andrew Thomas the whole game. Or lining him up versus Trent Richardson the whole game. Go put him against McKivitz, who ain't good. Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot more matchup stuff when it comes to 11, 9, and even 94 next year. And I think that's going to make Osa a little better.
You're thinking more defensive creativity than offensive creativity.
Yeah, man, they've had plenty of opportunity to show me that they're open to offensive creativity, and they just will not. They've had games where they go, all right, all the best teams in the world run motion at least 70% of the time, and one game we'll run at 85%. I go, oh boy, we on to something new. Next game, 15%. You've seen them do it, bro.
It's where the metrics just blow you away.
We've seen them do
up there.
I don't have the metrics, but my good friends on Twitter, they love to share the numbers. Oh yeah, we'll do something good for 1 week and totally ignore it.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have faith that my offense is going to be creative unless they show me. I do have faith that Zimmer's going to be creative because not only have I seen that, but the defensive and offensive players have told me, hey man, they rolling them safeties, man, they moving them linebackers, man. There's a lot of stuff going on. They communicating, talking. Kendrick's running around hollering flash, flash, flash. There's a lot of stuff going on. I believe the defense. I don't believe my offense yet. That'd be great though. I just don't believe that they're going to be creative or anything.
Do you think this defense will have to carry this offense the first several weeks of the season, or maybe the whole season?
It's false.
No, I think let me write this shit down. I think the offense is always going to be as high flying and scoring as it's always been. So
do they need to be creative then?
The defense, the offense?
Offense. You just told me.
Yeah, because I'm always here to get better. I'm always here to get better, right?
You just told me this is a high flying offense. They need to be creative.
Well, for example, Kellen Moore can always lead the league in receiving yards, but sometimes we got to run. You know what I mean? And I do think if you add running to this solution, you'll have a better overall product. You can rack up, scores and yards and all this kind of stuff. But what I learned last year, Brian, I'm still a young football evaluation dude. I can say that. What I learned last year, just watching the playoffs, every single quarterback was bad for like 2 quarters.
Yeah.
But what they did was they had run game and they had defense to buy them some time. And what happened in all them games? Yeah. There was an offensive explosion in the second half every single time.
Right.
Every time that happened. Maybe there was the one exception where Houston beat the hell out of the Browns, but every single game, Brian, Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, pick a guy. They look weird for a half. Dak Prescott, they look weird for one half.
Right.
And then they just figure it out at the end.
Yeah.
What these other teams had the luxury of, man, we're gonna run the football, set things up, play some defense, not get blown out, and we're gonna let the offense figure it out in the second half. What the Cowboys did differently than those other teams was they didn't stop the Packers once.
Right.
The offense was bad, but all the offenses that postseason have been bad. That's what happened when the best teams play each other. The difference is there was 40 points on the board for Dak Prescott when he finally got it going.
He figured it out. Yeah, it was too late.
Even Pat Mahomes, Brian, it was the Super Bowl or something. Pat Mahomes threw an interception the first play of the third quarter.
Yeah.
But his defense bought him some time.
Yeah.
Then he figured it out. So, yeah, our offense is incredible, but it can be a lot better, and I think run game can help us out.
It's so funny, how we've gone through the era. I've always, when I was on DallasCowboys.com, I always talked about run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. I'm not talking about like 1970s run the ball.
Sure.
But you always had, and then these guys were like, no, running the ball is a wasted down. Gotta throw it, gotta throw it. And now we're back to, like, I know on my show, guys are arguing with me like, Dak needs a running game. Like, where were you guys 5 years ago when all you told me that, like, running the ball is a wasted down? Have we come to the point now with the Cowboys that we're hopeful that they can run the ball? And it's really going to be just really about Dak. The season is going to, once again, hinge on him.
Well, Brian, football has always been a big cycle. And, it always goes back to the old days.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So, when your when your defense was big, you throw the football because they can't run. Then your defense gets small.
Yeah.
To be able to cover and pass rush. Now running the football is back because defense is small. It happened to us last year. Yeah. Right. So I remember when I first played football way back in the old days, our coach used to teach us that, 4-yard run plays were okay because second and 6, third and 2, you get another 4 yards, first down.
Right.
Nowadays, I think running is important, but now it's like, all right, throw the ball, see where you at. And now you run the ball to make for an easier third down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or if you have a short third down, but it's 4 down territory,
right,
you run the ball to make for an easier fourth down. You see what I'm saying? Right. So running the ball is still important. It's just, I guess, it's different now because you've added this modern football to it.
Yeah.
You know?
See, that's the thing about it is I've always believed the most demoralizing thing I ever remember working in the National Football League is when somebody ran the ball on us. And I was in Dallas when we had like 3 straight games where the other team had a 200-yard rusher.
Yeah.
Like Charlie Garner and you're like going, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most demoralizing thing. And I just wondered, like, it's funny to now hear people circle back, like you said, that, oh, you got to be able to run the ball, where before it was like, the metrics will tell you running the ball is a bad play. You're not, what you lose in yards, and I'm like, well, what about just playing with some physicality,
sure,
and just trying to wear somebody down? But I think things have changed a lot. The thing that bothers me is just, again, how quick you were to say no creativity in offense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I hate to say that you're probably right. That you know, when I want my team to be able to scheme some runs, you know, when you watch the 49ers scheme runs, and they've got damn good players. You know, 49ers have got a legitimate line. They got, you know, they've got use check to move. They've got receivers that block on the edge. They got a elite running back. They got, you know, some elite linemen. But the way they run the ball, the creativity that they use to run the ball, it's so fun to watch.
Here's an example, Brian. We watch film.
Yeah.
And we're both offensive line guys, right? I remember watching the Lions, you know, when you outside zone block, it's like two guys are engaging and somebody's trying to overtake and then they climb, right?
Right.
I was watching the Lions and they just let the backside dude go. The backside one tech.
Don't even block him.
They just let him go and climb to linebacker immediately.
Yeah.
And this was probably about timing or something like that. And you know, as an offensive lineman, to not have to worry about the down guy and just haul ass to the linebacker, man, you watch 49ers, you watch Dolphins, you watch Lions. The one thing that you notice is those guards get upfield quick and they block them damn linebackers.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, what we're doing, Tyler Biadasz, fiddle-faddling.
Yeah.
Zach, you here yet? And you're passing him along, and Tyler gets upfield and the linebacker's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's innovation as an offensive line guy, because I remember having to pass guys along. And look, you ain't got to play football to talk football. I'm just speaking from my experience as a center, having to pass a one tech along.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time. I would love to just be able to run. Man, the Lions say, bro, don't even block the one tech. He's not making this play.
He ain't making the play because they're hitting the hole so fast. Yep. They're banking on hitting the hole so fast, and they got a blocker up on the second level that once they hit the hole, now they're done. They're saying that one technique at 320 pounds or 315 pounds ain't making the play.
Yep.
Ain't making the play at all.
So you know, that's what I mean by creativity, right?
Yeah.
I want you to be ahead of the creativity curve.
Right.
I don't want you to be doing stuff that was created 5 years ago. But on the same token, I don't want you to be so creative that you're trying to get cute. Like we on the goal line and we running jet sweeps with Peyton Hendershot.
Yeah.
Makes me sick out here. Running jet sweeps with Peyton Hendershot. And to your point, that's a great time to just, hey, let's be physical and just run over somebody.
Yeah.
It's a great time to do that.
Yeah,
but you know how the game go. Brian, we had a fantastic conversation. We didn't even talk about the practice squad kids.
Well, let's talk about them real quick.
Yeah, real fast. So Denzel Daxon is here, but they cut my other guy. Carl Lawson is probably going to they cut Muhammad. What was that about, Brian?
I haven't found out about that. I'll be in the building tomorrow. I need to ask, but I felt like that Muhammad, he was on a 1-game suspension. He wasn't going to cost you anything as far as a roster spot, but they just kind of just immediately moved on. So I kind of felt like that maybe I need, I shouldn't say anything. I need to ask what the logic was there. And then when you and I get together tomorrow, I'll have an answer for you on that. But can I say something real quick though?
Hell yeah.
And I want to ask you about this. By the way, I'll point out to the Darius Harris, the linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye on him as far as an elevation guy because there's special teams and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I want to ask you something. I'm going to ask you about Jalen Cropper.
Okay.
Jalen Cropper, it felt like he had a good preseason. He started off really, really well. They started playing games and things kind of fell apart for him a little bit. You know, we talk about Flournoy and all. When this is something I've always believed in, and people can hear me out. When Jalen Cropper was on my practice squad the whole entire year last year.
Yeah.
I get him to training camp. He kind of goes through, he has some good practices, but he doesn't make the team. But I bring him back for the training camp again. All right, I bring him back to me for the practice squad again. Mm-hmm. Good use of a practice squad spot. If you know that a guy has been with you the whole year and then he gets to training camp and he doesn't make your 53-man roster. See, I like to go out and get other teams' guys.
Sure.
Like I like what the Bengals did by going out and get Justin Rogers.
Yeah.
I've kind of felt like that. You know what? I've given you a year, Cropper. You know, I've given you a year to be that guy, and you didn't get it done. Mm. Is that wrong thinking, or is that just, you know, it's about familiarity? He's a good kid. He'll practice hard. You know, I'm kind of struggling with a guy that was on my practice squad the whole year last year and get him into training camp, and he didn't finish the job in training camp.
If I had to guess, just me looking at the practice squad right now, Jalen Cropper is your only backup return guy, you know? Mm-hmm. So you have Deuce and Turpin, who are your two return guys, and you need two of them. I would imagine if anything were to happen to those guys, I would assume that Cropper comes in to be that guy for you. But that's and look, for Turpin to get hurt, that's one less receiver for you. So that actually makes sense. If something happens to Turpin, he'll go down on your wide receiver list. Cropper will then be your receiver, and he'll also be your return guy. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
See, I just was wondering how long do you need to keep looking at a guy? You know, that's but what you said makes a lot of sense for the backup stuff that he does. Mm-hmm. But I just wonder, a guy was with you the all practice squad last year. Training camp, couldn't get it done in training camp. You know, couldn't get it done. Had a chance, couldn't, you know. Do you move on? Do you go and try and get another guy? You go and look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Atlanta Falcons, or you just try and say, okay, who's the best wide receiver out there that we can maybe go get from one of these other teams, instead of having guys you kind of know who they are? Because Bobby and I were talking, he thinks Malik Davis, and I'll probably get yelled at for this, but he thinks Malik Davis is on this roster because they lost three guys along the way. They lost Rodgers, you know, they lost
I'm sorry, you were saying something positive about Malik Davis. What was that?
No, that's what, you know, you're right. But I was just, they were saying that he is on this team because they had three guys go away.
Oh, okay.
They lost some practice. They lost potential practice squad players, like, for example, the Eric Scott, and Rodgers. And
so originally there maybe wasn't room for Malik, but since those three guys didn't come back, now there's room for him.
Yeah, exactly.
He was your 19th practice squad guy, but he qualifies now. Well, this goes back to a question that I've asked you before plenty times. You know, when these coaches fall in love with these teams, guys, how hard is it to teach somebody how to field a punt? How hard is it to teach them? Find somebody dynamic. I would love to see Flournoy go out there, catch a punt, and just run over somebody. I would love to see what that looks like.
How quickly then, and you mentioned Flournoy, how quickly or at all does Flournoy overtake Brooks? Or does that happen at all?
I don't think it happens this year. Okay. I don't think Flournoy does anything for you this year. I just think that it would be a dangerous situation to put him out in the wilderness like that. What I think will happen is your wide receiver room next year is going to look Flournoy and Brooks allow you that gives you room to move on from Cooks next year. Yeah. So your next year room is going to be CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and some combination of Flournoy and Tolbert.
Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be a point where they look at Flournoy, that big body, the toughness that he has. And Brooks will be physical too and block and give you all he has. But I wonder if there's going to be a time where they say, let's let Flournoy be active this week and not Brooks, and see what we get.
Now that you mentioned it, Brian, we said this yesterday too, but Flournoy and Brooks, they both play the same position in theory, but they're two different dudes.
Right.
They play differently.
Right.
I can see that being one of your camp battles next year.
Yeah.
I can see one of that being your camp battles next year.
You don't see Flournoy. Do you think he's going to be an active guy for 17 weeks?
Who knows with injury? Okay, yeah, because injury, in real life,
if no injuries happen to your receivers,
if it's no injuries, I don't plan on seeing him this year.
Okay.
Brandon Cooks has historically been a hurt guy.
Yeah.
he was relatively healthy. He even got hurt a little bit last year. So I think there's room.
Yeah.
For the, and I'm not going to, because I would rather Brandon Cooks be healthy, but number 4 makes everybody look good. All you got to do is be a yak guy and catch the damn football. So it could be some opportunities, but if everybody's healthy and it goes away, we want it to go. You shouldn't want to see Flournoy this year. Yeah. But I think Jalen Brooks is he's on the hot seat next year. And look, not even because Jalen Brooks he didn't do anything wrong. It's just that Flournoy is on the way. Yeah. Flournoy just ain't stopping. Yeah. So I think that'll be a real life conversation for us next year.
Final question for you.
444.
Span Ford inactive every week. Are they just protecting themselves do you see them dressing 4 tight ends every week?
It's false.
I don't think he'll be inactive every week because I think your head coach, play caller, I think he wants to run a lot of tight end nonsense, man. He want to run them 3 tight ends out there. And John Stevens is a better blocker, but he's not going to be a blocking tight end. So I do think McCarthy can justify himself by saying, hey, put Span Ford on the PAT team.
Yeah.
You can put him as a wedge dude. If anybody wants to put a kicker, put a cornerback on the kick-off team, go let Brevin block the hell out of him. Yeah. And when it's time to go 13 or like 23 or something like that personnel, then Brevin Spanford would be one of your 3 tight ends on the field.
So you see him as actually having an active role on a weekly basis for this team.
I think Brevin will do a little more than Deuce Vaughn, because Brevin actually has dirty work that he can do. Sure. I think John Stevens is going to play a lot of slot. I think he's going to be displaced a bunch. I think he's going to do a bunch of red zone targeting type stuff. I don't think you call John Stevens to go down there and help Tyler Smith block.
He's maybe not a point of attack player right now as a blocker, but you put him on the backside with balance and athletic ability and stuff like that. Yeah. I just wonder, if that Span Ford is more about maybe they got nervous about him and like, if we put him out there, we had to battle teams. We had to give him a lot of money, a lot of guaranteed money, because the first couple of weeks of training camp, he wasn't very good. He did get better, but not to the point where I was thinking he was going to be on the 53. That was one of the surprising things I saw from camp.
Sure.
And he got better, but I didn't know, like Flournoy and Deuce Vaughn and those guys really accelerated to get on the team. Yeah. Span Ford, I think, had moments where, you could watch the Raiders game where he struggled, in a lot of aspects there.
I definitely think Span Ford has an opportunity here. I definitely think Span Ford is maybe he had a rough couple of weeks, but if you look at it, if you look at his body type and his pedigree and how he could possibly get down for you, I think there's room for him. Bryan Broaddus, I know you saw me looking over this whole time. I was just trying to find some good looking run plays from the Lions. I was just trying to find some good looks. I'm like, man, look at these dudes and all this creative crisscrossing they doing. All this blocking down and trapping they doing. But
pin and pull them. Yep, there you go.
Pin them and pull them, man. But Bryan Broaddus, man.
Oh, look at that trap right there.
That's what I'm saying, Brian. We don't do no shit like that, man. All right, let me cut this up. But Brian, I honestly feel like nobody has a show like ours. I feel like we're truly unique. Anytime we can show up here and do what we do and then just cut on some film at the very last second, I think that's special, man. I think that's special.
I appreciate you, man. I really do. It's I want to say that maybe by Friday, this thing could be how it's going to be. I don't know what other moves they could make unless something becomes available, but I think this is going to be the team that they have. Like I said, they've got to add because we didn't get the practice squad list. Cook wasn't on the initial practice squad list.
Sure.
So, but I think that's really kind of the only thing. I don't know if there's anything else that they're going to add to this team other than that. So,
well,
we'll see.
That's our team, and according to Bryan Broaddus, we are week 1 ready. I hope y'all are too, man, because apparently me and Broaddus gonna be doing this all year.
All year.
All right, me and Broaddus gonna be doing this all year. We may slow down if Bryan gets tired.
Nah, Bryan will be fine. Bryan will be fine. You let me talk about this and watch tape. We'll figure stuff out. Trust me. We got you and I are we're on a good run right now. We're on a good run, so we're gonna keep it going and yeah, there might be a day we don't do this once a week, but we'll make sure it's a day that it's a slow news day. It might be a Tuesday when it's a player day off or something like that, but we'll get you taken care of on a Monday, maybe rally on Tuesday, get our game film watched for Wednesday, Thursday for the opponents, and kind of break things down for you there.
We'll do it. Bryan, I just got one more. Hey man, look at the center, right? So look, they're gonna fake left and then go right. Watch the center just ignore everything and get to his landmark. You see that?
Yeah.
Bro, just ignore all the nonsense down here. Get to your landmark and block number 6. That's the center's job right here. We just wait or block 0, whatever. And I'm like, man, we're not progressing our run game stuff like that. We still doing caveman stuff I was doing in high school, man. You know what I mean?
Hey, let me tell you what, man. That Ben Johnson might be available for a head coach.
If anybody get fired, you go get his ass. Him and what's our guy in Houston?
Oh, Slolick. Bobby Slolick, yeah.
But man, Bryan, knowing us, man, we gonna get some old veteran. We're gonna go sign Brian Billick or something. He's gonna come in and be our head. You know, we like the old guys. You know. Hey man, we love y'all to pieces. I'm gonna let Bryan go take a nap or something. Tap in with me because I know you tired. Voch Lombardi on socials. Bryan Broaddus on his, and we'll catch y'all next time. Ground.